Hello guys and welcome to Invested. Today we have a very boring business for you. The good thing about boring businesses is that they're often ignored by the market, and by the time they come into the limelight, they have already become multi-baggers. Eschan, which is one of the largest players in the textbook publishing market, looks very interesting at current juncture. It is a household name with a history of over 8 decades, and a lot of us grew up reading its book. This is a turnaround story with its digital businesses yet to be fully priced by the market. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer: we are not SEBI registered analysts. This video is for educational purpose only, and yes, we do have a position in the stock. Now, Eschan gets more than 80% of its revenues from the K-12 segment. K-12 means class 1 to 12. They're also present in graduate and postgrad colleges where they supply content to students as well as tailored content for educators. They also produce books for test preps like IIT, CAT, Civil Service Exam, etc. They have 2,400 authors. Some of them are leading authors in their respective fields. They have 10,000 plus active titles and are present in almost 40,000 schools. Now, its target market comprises of private schools, and there are 3 lakh such schools in our country. This segment is currently growing faster than government schools at a rate of 8% annually, partly because there's a marked preference for private schools. Students' share of private schools versus government schools is rising not just in metros but even in rural areas. This is despite subsidized fees, free meals, and books in government colleges. Now let's understand the business a bit better through its value chain. So Eschan creates content by working along with authors and its own editorial team. It leverages its distribution network to reach out to students and educational institutes. Authors are paid via royalties linked to sales. This, on an average, over the last 5 years has been around 10% of revenues. Eschan also has a sales team who are the point of contact with schools, distributors, and retailers. These guys give feedback from the market. The authors, along with assistance from Eschan's editorial team, then update the content and develop new content if need be. Now, if you ask me what is the competitive advantage here, it's 80 years of being in this business, having a distribution network and strong relationship with schools and leading authors. Because of this relationship, they are able to feature on the recommended school reading list. So it's a very sticky business. Players in the industry don't necessarily compete on prices, but on the quality of the content and brand and reputation. Now, a bit of history. Eschan came out with an IPO in 2017, and ever since then, it has destroyed a lot of shareholder wealth. Let's see what went wrong here. So, before the IPO, Eschan was on an acquisition spree to expand its presence. See, in this business, it's very difficult to grow organically because most brands have long-standing relationship with schools. So the plan was to increase market share by acquiring new brands and cross-sell to school. So in 2012, it made an acquisition by buying out Madhuban. Then it acquired New Saraswati House, which has a strong grip in Sanskrit, French, and regional languages. Then Eschan acquired Chaya Prakashni, which has a significant presence in the West Bengal State Board. At the same time, it was also investing in digital initiatives. But acquisitions came with their own problems. Receivables started increasing, cash flow started deteriorating, there were sales returns from dealers. Also in 2019, there was a lot of confusion around national education policy. This led to a lot of booksellers trying to clear the existing inventory because they didn't want to hold on to old inventory. Then March 2020, they got hit by COVID, and the nature of this business is such that 80% sales happen in the last quarter, with March contributing almost 40% of total sale. So FY19, FY20, they suffered EBITDA losses. To their credit, they took a lot of initiatives to rationalize costs in FY19 itself. They started focusing on faster moving book titles. They stopped working with dealers with poor credit history, reduced the number of offices and warehouses from 19 states to just 4 locations. They reduced the employee count, and when schools shut down due to COVID, they conducted the usual educational events for schools online, right? And travel expenses of the sales team also came down. And some of these cost savings are permanent in nature. And the management back in 2019 said that they would reduce operating expense by 20%. And compared to FY19, this year they have reduced it by 46%. So they've definitely delivered on that front. All of these efforts have led to a significant improvement in cash flows, which has more than doubled since last year, while revenues have remained flattish. This is largely due to better working capital management. As you can see on the screen, there's been a significant improvement in receivable days, inventory days, and overall net working capital days. Now, for your information, viewers, working capital for this industry tends to be unduly high at the end of the fiscal, primarily on account of high sales in the last quarter, which then tapers down in subsequent quarters. So all in all, 2021 has been the turnaround year for S-Chand. But at the PAT level, there are still some small losses which should get corrected going forward. So organic growth rate for them should be around 10%. But NEP will change that. NEP was formally adopted by the government in July last year. The last time we had an NEP was in 1986. That was 35 years ago. Now, there's a lot of things in the NEP concerning our education system, but what's of interest to us is the change of curriculum. Now, the last time we had a new curriculum for K-12 was in 2005. That's 15 years ago. What the new curriculum will do is eliminate the second-hand book market, which is about 20%. And this will lead to very strong growth for 2 to 3 years at least. I say 2 to 3 years because not all grades will transition to the new syllabus in the same year. This got delayed because of COVID, but we should expect something soon enough. Also, there's a chance of market share gains because some of the publishers might find it difficult to transition to the new syllabus, especially regional players. There's a lot of strain on these smaller publishers because of COVID. So after implementation, we can expect 20 to 25% growth for 2 to 3 years. Now let's talk EdTech. Within EdTech, the K-12 EdTech market is projected to be worth $1 billion and is thriving for various reasons. Our education system lacks in a lot of ways. There's a lot of dissatisfaction among parents, students themselves look for better tools to learn, and even in smaller towns, EdTech is bridging gaps in access to quality education. Now, even though education-related expenses are technically termed disposable income, we all know the willingness of parents to pay up for the child to have an edge over other students. That's why Byju's can charge a student over 20,000 rupees and still have a lot of willing customers. Now, physical books aren't going away. Anyone who's a parent knows how tiring it is for students to be on a screen all day, especially for the young ones. So we're likely to see a model in the future where books and digital will coexist. Next, let's see what S-Chand is doing here. Now, LearnFlix is S-Chand's answer to Byju's. It's an affordable digital learning mobile app. The difference, however, is that S-Chand is not marketing it to students but to schools. Remember, S-Chand sells books to 40,000 schools, and that's the position it wants to leverage. LearnFlix is currently priced at 2,000, 2,500 per student per year. Now compare that to Byju's, which is 20,000 at least, and not everyone can afford that. So even though during COVID they could not visit schools, the subscriber addition has been very robust. As on May, the app had 2.3 lakh downloads and 21,000 paid subscribers. Now, they provided a lot of schools with free usage during COVID-19, and a lot of them can convert into paying customers in the coming year. The app also has very good reviews. It's rated over 4 on Play Store. The current product, however, only includes maths and science for 6th to class 10th. But this year they'll be adding class 11, 12 and subjects like English and social studies. Out of all the digital initiatives that S-Chand has done, this one interests us the most because we can clearly understand its value proposition. So what we would like to monitor here is the subscriber addition in the following quarters. Now, Milestone is a digitally enabled school curriculum solution, meaning it's a one-stop solution for all the school's curriculum. So it will have content, teacher training, assessment, live classes. Now, this is especially useful at schools where there's a problem with the quality of teaching. So primarily targeted towards affordable private schools in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Affordable is defined as schools charging annual fee in the range of 12k to 60k. Now that's around 92,000 schools in our country. They plan to reach about 1,000 schools in 2 years. However, here they face a lot of competition, especially from a company called Lead, which is doing way better than them. There's an interesting development that one needs to watch out for here. Both Milestone and LearnFlix will be housed in a subsidiary called Convergia. Now, various formalities with regards to Convergia should be completed by July. The company is also meeting a lot of investors to raise capital between 8 to 10 million dollars. This is for the next leg of growth, which is a B2C push. Now they do not need any capital for B2B. For B2B, they can do that from their own internal accrual. So the capital raise is primarily for a B2C push. Next, we have the S-Chand's latest digital offering. So Educate 360 is a K-12 blended learning solution that enables schools to conduct online classes, student assessments, ebook support, etc. So there's a bit of overlap between this and Milestone, but this seems more wholesome. My own guess is that they're trying new things and seeing what works. So they did pilots in over 50 schools last year, one paid implementation in 15 schools, and schools have given a very positive feedback and they're hopeful of more conversions going forward. Now you might ask, why do schools need these solutions? See, schools after all are a business and they want these digital tools to separate themselves from their competitors. It's as simple as that. Now let's talk about the investee companies. Smartivity designs educational DIY kits and toys for age 3 to 14. So essentially learning while having fun. S-Chand holds about 15% stake here, and as per the latest valuation round, the investment is valued at approximately 15 crores. Also, Ashish Kacholia holds about 26% stake here. The key thing to understand is that these are strategic investments. They have synergies with the investee companies. For instance, Smartivity is helping S-Chand with its preschool product SmartK, which is yet to be launched. So SmartK will include interactive educational toys, curriculum, multimedia content, teacher manual, etc. Now the online test preparation market is growing at a very fast rate. So there's a shift to online testing by a lot of institutes, and this has led to students showing a preference for online test preparation apps. And this is true even for the job entrance exams. So these guys have a 8% stake in an app called Testbook, which was founded in 2014 with a focus on online test preparation for government exams, civil services, railways, defense, police, etc. And today is the #1 Sarkari app. Testbook has over 1 crore downloads. So it's been a very good investment from their side. They've made almost 8x the initial investment. The own app Test Coach, which is also focused on government exams, has not been so successful. It's been 2 years and they've had just 50,000 app downloads and very poor reviews on the Play Store. However, the company has not given up on it. They do plan to introduce vernacular versions. Let's see how it goes. But personally, we've assigned zero value to Test Coach, as well as other digital initiatives taken by S-Chand. Now let's talk about the risks to this business. So the seasonal nature of the business is a big risk, right? Because Q4 accounts for 80% of annual sales. So if there's a third wave, it can be a problem. Secondly, because K-12 education is regulated, they are vulnerable to any unexpected announcement by the educational regulators. For example, in recent times, the CBSE board issued a notification stating NCERT books should be made mandatory by all schools. Then state governments have insisted on reducing bag weight for students. So regulatory risks like this can keep coming up. Piracy continues to be a large risk for all publication companies. Then there can be a delay in the implementation of NEP. Then a lot of times books are bought based on authors' reputation, and inability to retain such authors can also affect business. However, there's a counter to this point as well, which is the democratization of knowledge. Today, a lot of content is open source and made available for free. So maybe authors may not matter that much in the future. Here's our take on the whole thing. S-Chand is transforming itself from a publishing company to a complete education service provider. Digital business that currently contributes 7% should contribute 20 to 25% in the next 3 years. The new curriculum, once implemented, should provide strong growth for 2 to 3 years. In addition, they will be debt-free in the next 2 years. We think that's possible. Promoters themselves have shown a lot of faith by buying shares from the open market. There's also been buying by relatives of some of the board members. And in terms of valuation, here's how we are looking at it. So if they do 500 crores revenue this year at 20% EBITDA as guided, then this stock is available at EV to EBITDA of less than 6. So valuations are in your favor. We don't see us losing much money here. But if LearnFlix scales up, then this becomes a edtech play. So the valuations can go up substantially. So the risk reward is very much in the favor of the investor. So basically, heads, I don't lose much, tails, I win big. Lastly, guys, a word of caution. Everyone loves a turnaround story. Because people see that the stock was at 1000 or 2000 a couple of years ago, and today it's at 100, and they think to themselves, okay, it might go back to those levels. But here's the thing about turnarounds, right? Turnarounds oftentimes are nothing but managements pulling themselves out of graves that they dug for themselves due to poor capital allocation. Even though we are invested here, we do consider this as a high risk, high reward investment. Lastly, as always, please do your own research before investing. Thank you for watching. Hope this was useful to you. See you soon.